because
Ego over reality.
yeah. Oh my God, yeah. It sounds awfully familiar.
Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Soarin and Scratchin. We appreciate you joining us again. This is another video that has been highly requested and I cannot wait. I have really come to enjoy this channel's videos and I want to see more each and every time I see one. So, before we get into anything else, I am the Eagle fan. And my partner in crime.
Oh, that's me. I'm Evil Chicken, and lo and behold, I have to echo what my partner in crime has said about this particular individual. I do not know what it is we will be watching from this squire of this electronic age we live in. However, Dave, what you got?
Okay. As you said, yes, you know, based on the prior conversation, that this is going to be the Internet Historian.
Yes.
This is, I believe, I was told this is his latest video. Now, that might mean it was out several months back, but still his latest video. And many recommendations have been given about this particular video, so I really want to see this.
Excellent.
I love everything that we've seen from him so far, and I don't see that changing.
No, he's got a good spin.
He's got a great delivery.
Yeah, his spin is the truth, and you really can't beat that.
Yeah. So this is
yeah.
the cost of Concordia.
Most intriguing. All right. Well then, Dave, I guess without further ado,
Yes.
get down to brass tacks.
And as has become the standard, we will be watching the
In 3D.
commercials. We'll be watching in 3D. No, we will
Yes.
be watching the commercials because, well, it just has to be.
You know, somebody mentioned it's kind of like watching the Super Bowl commercials, and they were right. So whoever said that out there, thank you.
Yes, definitely. I'm sorry, I just realized I was being a yutz when I typed that and I didn't see my typo. Now I fixed it. Sorry. I was just being very anal for a minute there, and I'm like, I've got to get that R in there.
Oh, God bless you. I didn't even notice. Notice how I dropped the line about the anal. Anyway.
Okay.
This is a family show. A family show.
I'm sorry. Forgive me. Are you ready?
I am.
Are you ready? I think you are. The voices in my head, they say they're ready too. So let's go.
The Costa Concordia, ship of dreams. It's been 8 years. I can still smell the buffets from their 5 restaurants. The casino and 3-story theater had hardly been used. The gym, the day spa, the sheets in her 1,500 luxurious cabins hadn't even been slept in. Costa Concordia cost $570 million to build. And you could tell. You could really tell.
Of the Titanic. Ish.
I remember it like it was just a few years ago. We had left Civitavecchia, a port in Rome, and we were making our way to Savona. It was day 2 of our 7-day journey. But that ship, she was cursed.
Oh my word.
When she premiered, the traditional bottle of champagne bounced right off the side instead of smashing.
A bad omen. But I'm not the superstitious type. Nothing could go wrong on Friday the 13th of January, 2012, on the 100th year anniversary of the Titanic, on a ship that's also only safety rated for 2-compartment flooding. Especially not when you have a 5-star max-level captain like Francisco Scatino, a man who mysteriously rose from head of security to the position of captain within just a couple of years.
He knows exactly what to do in case of an emergency.
For example, when he caused this emergency in 2008, when he crashed into a port in Sicily. And in 2010, in Warnemünde, Germany, when he was steering a different ship and came into port too fast and caused another collision.
Like Speed 2.
I've got a good feeling about this. So let's set the scene. It's a beautiful evening. People are having fun on the slides, drinks at the bar. Antonio Magnotta is playing piano at the restaurant. Martin the Magician is setting up for his show.
That's a hell of a
And the
show.
ship is setting up for a little detour. It's called a sail by salute. Basically, you get real close to the shore and honk the horn. The locals hate it, but the customers love it, and it's a tradition. Scatino, the captain, comes into the dining hall with a lady, Dominica Samorton. Remember this face because you'll be seeing a lot of it later. Scatino eats his dinner with her and socializes for a little while. Then he, Dominica, and the maitre d' finish up and excuse themselves. They're heading to the bridge. It's time for...
So they say.
This is starting to ring vague chords with me. Vague chords are being strummed right now.
I don't know any specifics at the moment. So
is this the one where the sewage is flowing all over the decks, or I forget?
I don't know. In my mind, it is.
You kind of hoping for the sewage, Dave?
I'm kind of picturing it.
God forgive me. Me too.
Let's see. Is there sewage
please.
in our future? I don't think I've ever said that statement before.
Well, sewage happens.
This is true. Let's see.
that sail by salute. This time, they're going to get closer than ever. Just 1,500 feet from the island of Giglio. And how are they going to determine this distance? Well, of course, the captain is going to eyeball it. Apparently it's not an uncommon thing to do. Scatino turns to the fella steering, his helmsman, Jacob Ruslibin. First interesting tidbit. Costa Crociere has hired Jacob from Indonesia at a rock-bottom price, and he's a bit of a newbie to the job. In fact, his profession hitherto, a painter and a cleaner. It's his first time steering a massive ship, and he's very excited. At least, we think he is. It's hard to tell because he doesn't speak English or Italian very well at all. Off to a good start. The second in command orders the helmsman to 290. Now, don't be confused by these numbers, they're just the degrees on a compass. At the same time, the captain whips out his cell phone and calls former captain Mario Palombo, who lives on the island. They chat about the safe distance to Giglio's shores. It's all very casual. Anyway, Mario says that the safe distance is between 0.3 and 0.4 miles from shore. The captain is going all in. This is not his first sail by salute, so he's confident in what he's doing. We're going closer than we've ever been before. The captain's eyeballing it again. New heading of 300, he tells the helmsman. Downstairs, Martin is about to cut his assistant in half. And of course, that means that there's already a lady inside this box. She's waiting for the cue, and then she'll poke her legs out. The captain is giving more orders.
Spoilers!
Pulling gently to 310. Increase speed to 16 knots. Going this fast is going to be a fatal error. But before we talk about that, let's talk about another big problem. Language barrier. Because at this point, the captain says 325. but the helmsman relays 3:15. So the first officer intervenes, and he goes, no, 3:35, which is also wrong. And then the captain clarifies, no, 3:25. The helmsman confirms 3:25. Their poor communication has them moving at a much wider angle than they think they are. However, the captain should and would know this, except for the next problem, complacency about procedure. The standard procedure of a ship this large is for the third officer to give exact positional coordinates every time the captain gives a new directional order. But they're not doing that. 3:30, he says. The helmsman relays 3:30. The ship reaches 16 knots. The captain then turns to the second officer and instructs him to go to the left wing. That's these things here, and they basically exist so you can get a better view over the whole vessel. A few seconds pass, and then the mood starts to turn. Scatino notices white foam of waves breaking against the rocks directly in front of him in the distance. The Costa Concordia, right now, is almost 700 meters closer to the rocks than it should be. Without deviation, there is going to be a direct collision.
Oh, shit!
Scatino immediately commands the ship to start turning away. 3:35. Not enough. The captain shouts, 3:40. The captain yells, 3:50. Now, remember how I said that accelerating to 16 knots was a fatal error? Well, that's because it's made this ship incapable of such a drastic turn. What they've got is understeer. Here's an example.
The front end is not working. You're turning, and you're just going straight. You want to go over here, but you're going to end up over here.
So despite the order of 3:50, right now the bow is still only pointing at 3:27. Not nearly enough to miss the rock. And oh no, it's about to get worse. That language barrier again. In these critical moments where every second counts, the helmsman wrongly relays 3:40. The captain snaps back, 3:50 starboard or we end up on the rocks. The third officer goes to assist the helmsman. Now, don't get confused by the orders from here. We're changing over to rudder instructions. The captain yells, starboard 10, starboard 20, and still it's not enough. Hard to starboard. That means as hard as it'll go. But at this point, even if they clear these rocks, they need to get the rest of the ship to swing around it. So the captain yells, midship, which centers the rudder. The bow is now less than 150 meters from Skull Rock. Port 10. But the helmsman only gets to port 5 before another order is given 2 seconds later. Port 20. They might just avoid disaster here, maybe. But then, oh no. One more time the helmsman cocks up at the worst possible moment. The helmsman goes to starboard instead of port, undoing the swing. 8 seconds later, he realizes the error and corrects, but it's too late. He has just turned a probable near miss into a sure hit. All they can do now is hold on as the bow of the ship narrowly passes by the rocks. Hard to port! The second officer yells, we're gonna hit! Collision.
I've got to say, I've been just kind of enthralled so far just watching this because it's nothing that I'm even vaguely familiar with at the moment. So it's not like the other ones that we've watched where one was a little more lighthearted thing with business and the other ones were games that we have a familiarity with.
Right.
And
this is a shipwreck of a cruise ship that we're watching. I love, God forgive me, I love the way that it's being told though.
He has a very good way.
Yeah, definitely, because I mean I'm a layman. I have fantasies about living on a boat like Travis McGee, and slip F-18 and Bahia Mar. Be lovely. Houseboat, Dave. Be awesome. However, I'm not Travis McGee. and neither is this guy. Oh, this captain. Oh my gosh. So he rose up from security in what was it, 8 years?
I don't think he said a couple of years, so I don't think he said the
That's
exact number.
A meteoric rise, to say.
Yeah, and then putting a helmsman in charge of this kind of a ship who's
$500 million
done that.
plus.
That just seems crazy. That seems like something you would want experience for. I'm just saying. Maybe I'm crazy here, but maybe. I don't think...
After this, they went to the Suez Canal, Dave. I think that was... second Suez Canal reference.
I don't think Sulu had never done that before. That's all I'm saying.
No, Sulu was an expert helmsman. Apart from the J.J. Abrams universe in the first one, where I think it was the inertial dampeners weren't set, but other than that, but that saved their lives ultimately, as you know, Dave, because of the Romulan invasion from the future, from the Kelvin timeline. That changed everything, creating a dual universe, basically. The Kelvin timeline.
A dual universe, you say?
Yes.
Oh my god.
I know, it's riveting stuff. It really is. But thusly, Sulu actually did save the Enterprise, and thus the day.
He saved the Enterprise, you say?
Indeed.
Wow.
Yes.
I
but
did not know that.
Topic.
Let's get back.
Yes, we should probably do that.
Ad time. Downtown, Nordtown. It's day 56 of playing Russian roulette. Seems I never win.
Gonna drink all by yourself?
Somebody has to.
I hear you're a man who's good at finding folks.
I'm many things.
I'm looking for this fella. I gots to find him. It's breaking my little heart.
I'll see what I can do. I have contacts in thousands of servers in dozens of countries across the globe. And just like that, she was gone. The only thing she left was a calling card. Sometimes when you follow a case, it follows you back. NordVPN can protect my online data. But who can protect me? From myself. When they said this job gets easier, it was just another lie. Forensics found his password spread all the way down the block. In a perfect world, we'd all use NordVPN. But I guess this isn't that kind of story. I took the brakes off my car. Man like me never really learned how to stop.
Shut the fuck up.
I took the steering wheel out too. I let the road take me where I'm supposed to be. That's right, Toots. Your husband's dead. Merry Christmas. Go to nordvpn.com/internethistorian for a huge discount on a 2-year plan. Ad over. The ship hits rocks on the port side. A 53-meter gash opens up in the hull, and thousands of tons of water begin pouring in. A loud scraping and bang is heard by all passengers. At the helm, there's panic. Rumblings in the dining room. Martin awkwardly pauses his act as he's helping his assistant into the box. Meanwhile, the lady inside is trapped and terrified. There's confusion across the ship. All of the crew off shift come back on duty. All officers run to the bridge. Technical crews run down to the lower decks to assess damage. On connection with the rocks, they lose propulsion and slow to 8.3 knots. And they are now adrift. Close the watertight doors at stern. Enormous volumes of water are pouring in. So much so that within 29 seconds of collision, all 6 engines stop working through flooding. 22 seconds later, a blackout happens. Lights, electrics, the water pumps too, everything. The captain orders the helmsman hard starboard. This is the final position of the rudder before power to that, too, is lost. The Costa Concordia, now without power, is drifting starboard, plunged into absolute darkness.
That had to be terrifying.
A quick breakdown of the flooding. When the Concordia struck land, it tore open 3 watertight compartments. At first, compartment 5, which filled very rapidly. Then 6 more slowly, 4 shortly after. Then 7, 8 and 3. Modern ships are built to withstand 2 compartment breaches. These compartments especially, though, are a problem, because they contain the engines and the electrics. These main generators give power to the whole ship. From propulsion motors to rudder to hotel functions, pretty much everything. When they went out, the ship was a functionless, sinking cage. A few seconds later, the emergency batteries for internal lighting and communications kick on. When the lights come back on, Martin has vanished. He's ditched the stage. And it caused a huge panic in the theatre, as passengers are trying to flee to their cabins and to muster stations. People already in their cabins come out and start putting on life vests. Staff rally and try to calm everyone down. Everything is fine. There's no need for vests. Please return to your cabins. The emergency generator starts. All of the watertight doors close except for door 12, which is jammed. The captain calls Pilon, the chief engineer, as the ship begins to list on the port side. There's water coming in? Yes, there's water. But where? The engine room. But a lot of water? Yes! There's water, you can't go down. Let's go down the other side. In a moment we'll start the pumps, I'll let you know. In the theatre, the whole magic box apparatus slides right off the stage and falls into the crowd, further increasing panic. On the bridge, an announcement is being prepared. They are going to lie to prevent a panic. Let's just say we have a blackout. The deputy chief engineer enters the engine control room. He confirms to the bridge that at least compartments 5, 6, and 7 are flooded. Announcements are made.
The captain to inform you that due to an electrical fault, which is currently under control, we're currently in a blackout. Our technicians are working to resolve the situation and will inform you of developments as they occur. Thank you for your attention.
Coincidentally, at the same time in the restaurant, they're playing My Heart Will Go On, and it's very much not helping the situation. The captain calls the Costa Crisis Unit. Roberto Ferrarini. He tells the crisis unit that they've hit a rock, that they're assessing damages, and that they are also in a blackout. The crisis office says to reverse the ship up onto shore. Well, how are you going to do that? You don't have power to the rudder, let alone the engine. Hoist the sails? Anyway, around this time, the wind direction creates a starboard list, and the ship begins to turn anyway, drifting right back towards the shore, which is a very good thing because you want the ship to end up as close to shore as possible. A panicked passenger senses that something is off. This isn't like any electrical problem that she's ever seen. Plus, there was a massive crashing noise and now the ship is tilting. So, she contacts her daughter in Italy. The daughter then calls the police, and the police call the harbour master. While that goes on, a conversation between Pilon and Ambrosio. The diesel is not starting. The captain asks the engine room, but where have we made contact? Thinking that the incoming water can be reduced. Captain, here everything is lost. The electrical panel, everything. They're saying at this point that the ship is going down. The captain calls Roberto Ferrarini again. Actually, 2 compartments have been flooded, but don't worry, the ship's stability isn't in danger. Wrong. Passengers begin going to muster stations on their own initiative. The cruise director says, "We have a lot of people at muster stations that I do not want to fall overboard. Do we make an announcement to tell them to go to the lounges?" Bozio says, "I think that's best." The harbour master from Livorno calls the ship. The captain tells them that we just have a blackout. How long has this blackout been going on? About 20 minutes. Have you asked passengers to put on life vests? It's just a blackout. I gotta go. The harbour master is suspicious. He says to his superiors that he thinks something more is going on. He calls a patrol boat to the area and asks them to look at the ship. Another problem. The fan on the emergency diesel generator isn't working properly. Pilon manually has to turn the thing on and off with a screwdriver so that it doesn't overheat and cause a fire. The captain is on the phone to the lower decks, asking pointless questions, like, is it still flooded? Yes it is. The captain is essentially in denial of the situation. The harbour master calls again. Finally, he says, the ship is taking on water through an opening in the left side and the ship is listing. He qualifies with, no one dead or injured. The harbour master asks if he needs help. Just a tugboat? When in reality, they need a full rescue. With 3 compartments flooded, the captain finally realizes that things are really bad and they are not going to improve. The Coast Guard orders every available ship to the sea. Meanwhile, up with the passengers, the cruise director's assistant says, everything's under control. Please return to your cabins or hang about in the lounges, no problem. She said this despite knowing it was wrong and that it further endangered lives. Most passengers at this point, though, aren't listening to this nonsense, and they're busy figuring out how to abandon ship. Bang, 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 bang. Local television has already picked up the story and they begin broadcasting live radio feed from the bridge.
Hey, Capo.
Captain, the passengers are going on board the boats. Okay, let them go to shore. So then general emergency? Wait, let me talk to Ferrarini. We risk the emergency generators that do not have cooling. It has cooling problems, 100 degrees. The cooling fan has stopped. Pilon calls the bridge and tells the safety officer they need to evacuate. The safety officer relays this to the captain, but after no response, he orders the engine room to evacuate on his own. The captain says, no, stay. We're leaving. So what do? General emergency? The captain tells Ferrarini that he's abandoning ship. Abandon ship! Another announcement is made.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. The situation is under control. Please remain calm. But at this time, proceed to your muster station. They're located outside on deck 4.
The Livorno Coast Guard calls again. The captain declares distress. The Coast Guard officially calls for rescue operations. They contact Pietro Mille, the helicopter base commander, who then calls in every available pilot as he rushes down to the helicopter base. Pilon shuts down the emergency generator for the final time. The first rescue vessel arrives. By this point, the lifeboats are already going. Luckily, the ship is very close to shore. Oh, perhaps too close to shore. The ship forcefully runs aground, creating an uneven center of gravity, and it begins heavily listing starboard. The captain issues a general emergency on board. The announcement to abandon ship is finally called and alarms ring out, and with that comes panic. And now that they're listing, with many of the lifeboats too awkwardly positioned to enter the water, there aren't enough readily available and they have to start going back and forth to the shore, picking people up and dropping them off. The patrol boats report to the Livorno harbour master that the ship has run aground and is listing heavily. So the harbour master asks the captain about it, and the captain says, no, the ship is still floating.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to pause for a minute there, because if not, I would have just found myself watching the entire rest of that.
Holy crow. It's like the whole Emperor's New Clothes thing with the captain. Just complete denial, you think, Dave? I mean, this is something...
Yeah, it's
he's
ego.
In control. He knew that he screwed the pooch here, but
it's ego not wanting to admit that he made a mistake.
Yeah, and people's lives are in danger.
Ego over reality.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, it sounds awfully familiar. Pride and hubris have a way of blinding people, and this is frightening. Because see it happen a lot these days. But with this case, holy crap.
Wow.
Now I'm starting to remember. This is not the sewage vessel. Oh, yeah. No.
I've got to say thank you for the recommendations on this, because I have just been enthralled by this.
I know.
I've just been on the edge of my seat.
It's riveting. It's I don't know, man. Pride and hubris are hellified emotions.
Yeah, let's get back.
Yeah.
In fact, we're trying to maneuver it onto the shore. They know he's lying.
Hold on, I'm reversing it. Beep, 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 beep.
The captain then says to bottom out the starboard anchor. So they drop out the anchors, but let out too much chain, effectively rendering them useless. The deputy mayor of Giglio, Mario Pellegrini, and tobacco shop owner Giovanni Rossi arrive at the harbour. They watch the scene unfold. As the first of the lifeboats arrive on shore, the deputy mayor takes the initiative and races to board one of the lifeboats, returning to the ship, and starts trying to find someone in charge. He gives up and starts helping passengers. Scatino tells everyone to leave and take radios, but not before changing out of his uniform and into a nice suit. Priorities. Dimitri Christidis and Silvia Coronica leave with him. The maitre d' and Sir Morton both get out of there. By this point, approximately 300 people are still on the ship. Millet reaches the helicopter base. The first helicopter, a slow-moving Augusta Bell, was already rising from the tarmac for the hour-long flight south. Bozio is the last crew member left on the bridge, coordinating evacuation. He then leaves to help passengers board lifeboats. The bridge is now abandoned. And then, the ship's black box stops working. Apparently there were technical problems with it. That means, from here, things are going to get a little foggy in detail. A while later, rescue helicopters arrive, but they're struggling to find the ship because they're expecting it to still be well above water. Passengers are scaling down the port side by ladder as lifeboats return to pick them up.
This is no joke. Oh my goodness. It was no joke anymore.
Oh! You're not allowed to make a film movie.
I'm allowed.
Who say you are?
A second helicopter, a faster model, sets off. The ship stops healing and comes to a final resting place. Now the Coast Guard calls the captain because he's just learnt that the captain has abandoned ship. The captain claims, no, actually I slipped and I fell into one of the lifeboats. I'm a klutz. But now that I'm aboard, I may as well head back to shore. DeFalco tells the captain to get the fuck back on board. And the captain kind of acts confused and then effectively refuses. So the captain makes it to shore. From here, we only have mainstream news reports to rely on, so it's not going to be super accurate. But they say that Giglio's police chief then finds 110 survivors on the rocks at Point Gabbianara, and among them is the captain. It's not known whether the captain helped anyone while he was there, and in fact, the police chief claimed that he just sat on the rocks and watched other people do the rescuing. A while later, a rescue boat picks up the captain and takes him to the harbour. He speaks to the police. He then finds the ship's onboard chaplain, Father Rafael Molina, and cries to him for about 15 minutes. Then he goes to the harbour master's office to receive probably the biggest dressing down of his entire life. Port authorities ask the taxi driver to take the captain back to his hotel. The captain takes the 30-second cab ride to the Bahamas hotel. According to the cabbie, he was beaten like a dog. He was cold and afraid. He only asked me where he could buy a pair of fresh socks. But then he perked right up again and gave an interview to a news crew. He told them that he was the last to leave.
The captain is usually the last to abandon ship. What happened, Captain?
We were the last to leave the ship.
All day Saturday, rescuers search for people on the ship. On Sunday morning, a South Korean couple is found in their cabin, safe but shivering. They had slept through the crash and woke up unable to exit their cabin. The last survivor, Manrico Giampandroni, was found with a broken leg. He was the cabin's service director. In the end, 32 people died. The final body wasn't discovered until nearly 3 years later. A crew member, Russell Rebello, and it's believed that he died a hero helping passengers off the ship. The Costa Concordia was the largest cruise ship disaster since the Titanic. And then there's the ship. This is what happens to a 110,000-ton cruise liner when it's left half rolled over in the ocean.
Wow. Haunting.
Yes.
But this isn't the end. It's just the halfway point. What most people know is that the Costa Concordia had crashed, many dead, and that the captain abandoned ship like a coward. But there's a whole veritable spaghetti of details to untangle. Let's dive in. There they are. The deets. time. The Costa Concordia was more than just a floating resort. There's a mall, a casino, cha-ching, cha-ching. This iron chest was full of safes and cash registers and expensive fittings. And there were plenty of gamers prepared to sneak by authorities and try their luck in the hot zone. Within days, police divers reported that valuable items, once seen lying around the ship, were now missing. High-end liquor, expensive furniture, dining sets, cash from the casino, cash registers, jewelry and display cabinets, safes, Japanese woodblock prints by famous 18th century artists, as well as the iconic bell, which hung from the bridge of the ship. It was never found. Who steals a big fuck-off bell? Even the server admins were getting involved. 4 divers who were part of the company contracted to refloat the Concordia were spotted on CCTV, sneaking out to the ship. A patrol boat was dispatched, and the men were caught inside the fancy suites with rucksacks full of stolen goods. The 4 men are charged with stealing and thieving and pinching. Later on, stolen as well as legitimate items found their way to Amazon and eBay. Chips from the casino, postcards, and cabin access cards became highly sought after souvenirs.
It even has a watermark.
Some Australian guy even made a listing for the ship itself, advertising it as buyer to collect. And although there were plenty of bidders, eBay pulled the plug. I know you want to see Scatino go to jail, and we'll get to that. But first, we have to talk about someone else. Domnica Soarin.
That was a close one.
There was speculation that she was on the bridge that evening because she was the captain's mistress.
Intense media speculation reports that her presence distracted the captain.
They both denied their love for years and maintained that they were just friends. Although she did later admit to the media that she found him handsome. And how could you not?
You so fucking precious when you smile.
But she says there was no romantic link between them.
Some people would like to believe, they want to know I have something with him. It's more interesting. It's like, you know, some spicy in the story.
Miss Soarin also loved the spotlight, however.
Everyone, oh look!
And took several interviews. But as the pressure mounted upon her, she began making ominous threats to Scatino, saying he must confess, and that you have but 1 week to come clean. But things from here get weird.
Spicy.
Soarin is a bit of a wild card. In a subsequent interview, she claimed a helicopter came to the ship well before the other rescue craft to take away a package. Huh? And what was that package? Drugs, apparently. So rumors began that the ship was running narcotics for the mafia. And not without cause, a number of cruise ships, even recently, have been caught trafficking drugs. As an aside, Scatino was tested for drugs immediately after the crash. He tested negative for drugs in his system, but trace amounts of cocaine were found in a hair sample.
Makes it smoother and less dry.
Nonetheless, the Concordia was searched and no drugs were reportedly ever found. How did we get here? Oh right, a helicopter. Soarin commented on it again the next day and said, actually, that helicopter was just for the captain as a means of evacuation from the ship. Okay, wait. So she expected to get some sort of first-class rescue while everyone else was still stuck on the ship? Wait, how did we get here? Oh, right, sex with the captain. Divers were quick to head to the captain's cabin where they found Miss Soarin's lingerie and other articles of clothing as well as a makeup bag. The jig was up, but they continued denying it. Soarin mostly faded from international attention until she was told to appear before the court to present witness testimony. The judge pressed her to be truthful about their relationship, or she would be held in contempt.
Either tell me the truth or shut up.
So finally, she admitted it.
Yes, I had a sentimental relationship with the captain.
Stop.
But now, stop asking about my private life.
She was indeed the captain's lover.
What is up, Trouble Alert Nation? Scatino cheated on his wife with Soarin. Oh my god!
She and Scatino had been having an affair for several weeks, She also said that on the night she boarded, she didn't have a ticket.
Ticket, please.
And didn't need to pay because nobody questions you when you're the captain's lover. Naturally, she gave another confusing interview after leaving court.
I want to say that today is the second time I die, because the first time I died in the night of the crash with my psychological brain and problems. And today I died the second time because, of course, people find out something that I try to hide.
Subsequent to the trial, she used her fame in Moldova to become a political activist, often appearing on television and radio and in articles covering protests, accompanied by pictures of her being arrested by police.
You know
It was
who
some
I
stuff
think
about
I
victims'
am?
violence, women's rights,
Girl power?
yada yada yada. And interestingly, part of a push to block the sale of shares of Moldova's train network to Russia. Sure. Other than that, I don't really know what she's been up to. Let me just check on her Oh God, not again. Several civil suits were quickly lodged against Costa Crociere, and their parent company, Carnival Cruises, immediately saw a share drop of 23%.
Nice.
Passengers sought compensation for their damaged mental health, lost belongings, and loved ones.
Either they allowed him to divert from his course, or they didn't know where their billion-dollar ship was.
Within a few days, facing financial and media pressure, the CEO attempted to join the bandwagon against the captain and the crew.
That was not the ordinary route.
I gotta say, $500 million vessel. Sorry.
Yes, thank you, Dave. it's that penchant for accuracy that I appreciate so much.
This just keeps on. It's a story that keeps on giving.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
It's like an onion. You just keep peeling
It
layer
is.
after
It
layer
truly
after
is.
layer.
You know, I mean, he shouldn't have been captain to begin with.
No.
It was irresponsible, number one. Number two, it was to just leave everyone to their fate while you just bask in your failure. No, it's not how it's supposed to happen.
And leave everyone to their fate while almost trying to hide.
Oh yeah, man. He puts on a suit. Really? You know,
probably if people didn't recognize who he was, he probably would have tried to slip out like he was just a passenger.
Yeah. He's like Billy Zane in Titanic. He's the guy who grabs that kid and gets on the life raft and says, that's my daughter.
I've never watched that movie.
How about the band playing...
Thanks for the spoiler, man.
Oh, sorry.
Don't worry. I have no intention of watching that movie.
Oh, it's not it's a guilty pleasure, actually. I kind of like it.
More power to you. That's why they make many different types of movies.
And ice cream. So, but yeah, how about the band playing playing Celine Dion? Oh my God!
It was all fitting, I guess. Now, back to the ice cream comment, though. They only have to make chocolate chip mint. I'm sorry. I just had to say that.
I'm sorry. If you're on a $500 million boat, they better damn well have rum raisin.
No, nothing exists beyond chocolate and vanilla and chocolate chip mint. Don't need anything else.
It's a much bigger place.
Actually, and oh my God, are we getting off topic here? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The best.
We'll be back.
Ice
We'll be
cream
back. Go ahead.
they don't even make anymore.
What?
Or I can't find it. It was by Edie's.
Yeah.
It was mint chocolate, or it was mint brownie or something. It used to have chunks of brownie in it, and these little mini, like the mini Nestle morsels in there, with the mint ice cream.
Pearl.
Oh, that was so good.
That sounds pretty amazing.
But it has
Dave,
not
I'm a
been
whore
around.
for Ben and Jerry's. I'm not proud of the things I've done for a Klondike bar.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do, man.
Yeah, I mean, Ben and Jerry's, Haagen-Dazs, mother puss bucket. I can't touch the stuff now. I got the diabetes. But oh my God, I love it. Oh, man. It's a dairy product. It can't be that bad for you, right, Dave?
Sure. Can't be that bad at all.
Exactly. I'm a fat guy. I got this way for a reason.
So,
Dave, you like Ben and Jerry's?
I'm not big with Ben and Jerry's.
Okay. Phyllis.
Haagen-Dazs? Yes.
Haagen-Dazs, love it. Great rum raisin.
Breyers? I'm good with that.
I don't know. They're very hit and miss.
Well, I'm just pretty much stuck on their mint chocolate chip or their vanilla and chocolate.
Well, fair enough. You know what? Hey, I can dig it.
Everything okay?
Yeah, it just scared me. Turns out the cost of Concordia came crashing through my living room. So,
well, you'll see the captain running by soon.
The captain, I was wondering who the hell that was. So anyway, yeah, Dave, this is fascinating. You know, I mean, with the ice cream, you think it was like in Jurassic Park. Somebody said something funny recently on one of our comments that I look like John Hammond, and it's true. We spared no expense. This is the best ice cream. We spared no expense. Anyway, I bet
you ready to get back
on the ice cream on this ship. Yes, please go.
That the ship was taking at the time, and was not only taking, but the time the ship was
Junior?
claiming that the ship was not approved to deviate from the route. But that wasn't true. Approval isn't required if the ship is deviating by less than 15 miles, or that it was against company rules. Also untrue, because investigators found that they didn't have any rules about deviating route, and they tacitly encouraged sail-by salutes. Now, in response to the civil suits, Costa Crociere offered passengers 11,000 euros each as compensation.
That's kind of small.
11,000 euros, about $14,000, is the minimum compensation under international law when a ship is abandoned.
This was to reimburse them for their tickets, as well as any costs they accrued in having to unexpectedly travel home early.
And that was supposed to release them from everything and anything that has to do with this accident. I cannot ask for more than this.
A lot of passengers, understandably, were not too happy with this deal, and they refused to take the money.
We think the offer is an insult. For what these poor passengers went through, we think that the compensation being offered is not commensurate.
I got to agree.
Take it. Compensation being offered is not commensurate.
Later, Costa Crociere would lodge a plea deal with the Tuscany court to pay a €1 million fine to avoid a criminal trial. The judge agrees. Costa Crociere is now off the hook for all criminal liability for the whole thing. They've washed their hands of the incident and flecked the residual droplets of responsibility onto the faces of 6 staff members. Passengers and relatives of the dead are livid that the company has been able to avoid criminal responsibility.
Offered is not commensurate.
Civil suits against the company continue. By the way, the residents of the island of Giglio also banded together and sought damages. They didn't get much. Eventually, passengers who refused the initial compensation of $11,000 joined civil parties against Scatino in his trial in 2015.
Is not commensurate.
They were awarded €30,000 each. Other cases, especially those involving lost relatives, are settled for undisclosed amounts. New York attorney Peter Renee traveled to Budapest to represent 6 real survivors of the disaster.
At Ronay & Ronay, we personally work on every case.
And we'll work harder than anyone to get you the most money possible in the shortest amount of time.
And while on the job, a 7th case cropped up via email. An elderly woman, a loner, said,
"Help me, Mr. Ronai, for I have lost my daughter, Eva, and my 5-year-old granddaughter, Roxana."
So Mr. Ronai agreed to speak with her. However, there were some inconsistencies in her story. Neither Eva nor Roxana were on the passenger list. Odd, but Costa is known for having stowaways.
Gotcha, bitch!
Still, Mr. Ronai was suspicious. They wouldn't cheaty old Petey, would they? Renai inquired further about why she was on board, especially without a ticket. Ilona said,
"Well, I don't know, but you should ask her boyfriend.
Zolt Horvath.
He'll know all the details."
"I'm up all night. I'm going crazy," he said. But Mr. Renai was still suspicious. Because then she asked, "How much money do you think this is worth?" This is a huge red flag, Petey. In 20 years of doing this, you've never had anyone ask about money. Why now? So Mr. Renai hired an investigator and sent photos around of the missing girl. The next day, the phone rang. Oh, hoi hoi. It was the boyfriend again. Look, there's been a bit of a misunderstanding and the child isn't missing at all. Uh-huh. And then he claimed he was confused because he had done too many drugs the night before. Oh. Okay, can I speak to the daughter then? At first, he was refused. So Renai said that he'd have to file a missing persons report to the police if he couldn't. The boyfriend relented. That night, Renai met with Zolt and brought the police with him. He speaks to the granddaughter and asks her if she's seen Mum. "Yeah, I saw her today." "Oh, really?" "Yeah, we went to the park today and we went on the swings." Oh no, the jig was up. So the mum walks into the room sheepishly. "It's a miracle!" And the story changed again. "Okay, I'm not dead, but I did injure my leg when I jumped from the ship. And then I immediately flew back to Budapest. Although don't worry about checking my leg because there are no visible marks or injuries." Oh, Petey, I'm beginning to think they weren't even on the boat. Also, it turns out this lady isn't her mum, it's just a neighbour. Eventually, Renee managed to make the pair confess. And then they said, "Hey, we haven't done anything wrong. We haven't taken any money." And in the end, it looks like there'll be no criminal punishment for the scam, because Hungary, a former communist country, has no laws against insurance fraud on the books.
The law firm that never sleeps, call 1-800-6647.
Oh, that's a bad idea. Oh, that's a bad idea.
Mario, would you teach me some Italian?
Oh, of course.
Get back on board for fuck's sake.
Okay, thanks.
Gregorio De Falco, the naval officer who shouted at Scatino to "Vada a bordo caso," became a bit of a national hero overnight in Italy. He, like the rest of the world, expected Scatino to go down with the ship. And when the captain chickened out, De Falco was there to admonish him. And when he stopped answering the radio, he called him on his cell phone to continue putting him on blast. When the captain first reported just a blackout, De Falco didn't believe the story, and immediately began preparing a rescue effort, which likely saved several lives. His actions were applauded by most Italians who were tired of their public servants being corrupt and avoiding responsibility. Accordingly, shirts sporting "Vada a bordo caso" were being printed by the end of the week, others setting it as their phone's ringtone. But then, in September 2014, without warning, De Falco was transferred to an admin role in the Coast Guard.
Hear what I said? He'd been demoted.
De Falco said that he had been passed up for promotion, that he had also not been told which admin office he was even being transferred to, and that it all effectively cancelled 10 years of his career. De Falco was tres furioso, and there was public speculation that it was owing to bad blood between himself and Admiral Delano, his former boss. His status among the public overshadowed his superior in many ways. On the other hand, his boss said, no, it's part of a normal career progression for naval officers and that he must show more maturity and professionalism to advance his career. Now, it's hard to know what's true in office politics, so let's leave that alone. And anyway, in 2018, De Falco said "Buenas noches, ya later" to the Italian Navy to become a politician. In March that year, he was elected to the Italian Senate, serving as a member for Livorno. He still serves there today.
I'm the captain now.
I'm the captain.
The day after the disaster, Scatino was taken into custody by police and underwent questioning. However, it was clear that this would not be a straightforward investigation. So the judge released him under house arrest at his home in Sorrento, a town in Napoli. By July of that year, the house arrest was relaxed and he was allowed within this general area. While under house arrest, he wrote a book with this journalist from Rai magazine. I have no idea what it says, I don't speak Italian. But goddammit, he must have some kind of charisma going on, because there's been a lot of speculation in the press that he had an affair with her as well.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Hold on, I got it. Not content with abandoning his ship, this dude is determined to abandon his wife as well. So, Scatino and 5 others are facing criminal charges. Straight away, everyone lodges a plea bargain with the court, and all of those plea bargains are accepted, except for Scatino's. And the condition of everyone's reduced sentences are that they must provide witness testimony against Scatino.
He touched me.
Ciro, Jacob, and Silvia were all given suspended sentences. Roberto and Manrico are able to opt for community service or house arrest. Not a bad deal.
A good deal. A good deal.
And that meant that Scatino was now all on his own. Ciro, the first officer, was the first to give his testimony. On the witness stand, he claimed that Scatino was distracted by his mistress and other guests on the bridge.
Oh my God.
That there was confusion over who was in command. Then it was Jacob's turn, and he said Lamau XD because he didn't actually bother with his testimony or his reduced sentence. He just fled the country. It took authorities 12 months to eventually track him down on the outskirts of Jakarta. And when they said, "Oi, we still want that witness testimony," he just scarped again, and he hasn't been found since.
No
After
way.
that, Ferrarini gave his testimony, then look, we don't have time to relitigate the whole trial, so let's just go straight to the verdict. Guilty! Scatino was found guilty of multiple manslaughter, causing a shipwreck, abandoning ship, and lying to authorities. He is sentenced to 16 years and 1 month in prison. But wait, there's still the appeals. The appeals trial begins. And the verdict on the appeal? Surprise! Rejected! So Scatino's lawyers appealed again. And the verdict on the final appeal?
Scatino made multiple attempts to secure a plea deal but was denied by the prosecution each time. The prosecution called for Scatino to be sentenced to 26 years in prison, calling the incident a Titanic affair.
Oh, okay, I see what you did there.
Scatino was not present. His lawyers stated that he was waiting outside of the jail for the ruling, so that if his plea was rejected, he could immediately start serving his sentence. And with that, 5 years and 4 months after the disaster, he was finally in a cell.
I will not be making any comment.
Oh, that hurt.
The salvage operation was enormous. It took over 2 years and cost an estimated $1.2 billion. Beginning in early 2012, they first spent 2 months pumping fuel from the ship's tanks. At the same time, they had to pump seawater in so that the balance wasn't affected and the ship didn't slide around. In early 2013, a platform was built under the ship to prevent it from falling further. Sponsons were then attached to the sides of the ship and cables attached to the underwater platform. The sponsons were then dragged underwater and opened up to allow the ocean to fill them. The ship could then roll over properly. By late 2013, the ship was upright once more. The sponsons were then attached to the side of the ship to help keep it balanced. It now rested partially above water and crews could walk around safely. By July 2014, the water was removed from the sponsons and compressed air was pumped in to lift the ship. And she was ready to cruise again. This time to a port in Genoa. It was a 4-day towing journey to the docks where a 2-year process of dismantling and recycling would begin. That same weekend of the towing, Scatino was busy. He was the guest of honor at a white party on an island in the Bay of Naples. He appeared on the front page of a local newspaper, flanked by 2 of Italy's most eligible bachelorettes. Anyway, so these are the things that I remember from the Costa Concordia. That sweet maiden of the sea. And as for you, little fella, well, it's time to return you from whence you came.
That's brilliant.
6
Titanic
quick things.
references,
1.
Dave.
NordVPN, good product, check them out. Number 2, there's a new video on the second channel. You probably didn't see it because it was temporarily restricted. Now it's not. Enjoy. 3, if you've never seen the second channel before, give it a go. It's a different type of content, but we put a lot of production into it. It's not just offcuts. 4, there are a couple secret channels as well, but I ain't telling you where they are. 5, no more 45-minute videos on the main channel. Back to 10 to 15 minutes and more of them. 6, there's a Q&A coming out next week on incognito mode. It's got a ton of detail that we had to cut for the sake of brevity, and will no doubt feature a ton of corrections as well. That's it. Thank you.
Spicy.
And now we know what happened to the bell, Dave.
Now we know. That was good. I had no idea about that.
So many twists and turns. You know, I mean, the difference between reality and fiction is that fiction has to make sense.
Yeah. I am just so impressed by his videos.
Yeah. You were saying before we went, I was going to say live, but before we started recording, you said that you wouldn't mind seeing him get a show on Netflix because he's such an interesting documentarian, and I had to agree with you. I'd watch the hell out of that show.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Man, I think you're right.
He just has a way of presenting the research that he does on these things second to none. And he
it's
presents it in a very amusing way, which also makes it more entertaining and
more palatable and
easier to learn, to be honest with you.
Definitely. I had forgotten about this one. Like I said, I thought this one was the one with the sewage, with the people floating in sewage for, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks.
I remember the one about the captain who abandoned ship. So I remember that part of it now. Once all of that started to sink in.
When he mentioned it, but
I didn't know all of the details and everything.
So how much was it to salvage? $1.6 billion?
1.2 or 1.6?
1.2. Sorry,
it was 1.2
billion dollars. Holy crap!
Well, you saw all that they had to do. I mean, oh my God,
that's amazing. Such a feat of maritime engineering just to do that. It's remarkable. It's remarkable.
So many little things leading to that too. It's just so many things that could have been different, which could have prevented that.
Oh my God!
One is him not being a dick.
Oh please, absolutely. You know, I mean, don't hire dicks. For those of you out there in places of power and influence, stop it with the dick hiring. Okay, this is what happens. Stuff like this. It's crazy. It's crazy. Go nuts.
Yeah, that's.
How about they still haven't found the helmsman? He's gone.
Oh yeah,
that's crazy.
But actually, he had, in my mind, less to do with it than the captain.
I blame the captain. Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know why he was found guilty. I don't know what he was found guilty of.
Well, that the ship did crash. He was the helmsman, and he was doing all sorts of stuff like this.
He did make mistakes.
Yeah.
But also, he should have never been in that position to begin with.
Well, neither should the captain. And quite frankly, the upper management should take the fall for this. Because I mean, when it came time to hire, that's like hiring me and you. You could have been a captain, and I'd have been the helmsman. or vice versa. Of course, I don't think we'd have done any of the shit that these guys did. And we don't know our ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to this. So, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I
Wow.
don't. There's so many things there that just add up. Don't add up to
And it kept
logical
going.
decisions.
It just kept going. It's amazing. That's a crazy story. And then,
And actually, just seeing the look on that captain's face, doesn't he look like somebody that you would suspect
Oh, yeah.
of exactly this?
oh yeah, definitely. And then the girlfriend. Good Lord. You don't have to.
She died twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a shame. There were people there that actually died once that are a little worse off. So
Absolutely, at least 32 of them. And
Yeah.
I want to know what the hell happened to the one lady in that magic box. Did she get out? I mean,
that's
the
a
one
good
that
question.
sawed in half, or
Wait
rather,
a minute,
wasn't.
didn't they
sawed in
mention
half?
that she popped out at one point?
Oh, I thought she fell off the stage, but I was scared to death that, like, when they said they found one body like months later, I was like, oh, please don't be that lady.
I was. I
I
gotta
was
say,
like, oh, don't be her, don't be her.
at that
And it
point in
wasn't.
time, I started to think, did that lady get out? Oh my God! Don't. I was thinking the
You
exact
too?
same thing.
Oh yeah, something else that was startling. It's like it's like Blue Oyster Cult's Godzilla. History shows again and again how nature points out the folly of man. How it did not take long for the ocean to reclaim that vessel. I mean, the before and the after pictures are
yeah.
startling, and I mean, it's before the Armageddon and after. It's just
Yep.
the it doesn't take long for the world to become upside down.
Sad but true.
Wow, that was some of those pictures were. It was fascinating to see, actually. Frightening,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
fascinating at the same time. I mean, whew. This was amazing, Dave.
Not overly surprising because I can see this. I can see the sea doing that.
I see what you mean. Yes, most definitely. I mean, but just such a force of nature, and it's just
Yeah.
Reclaiming.
This was an odd one. Not an odd one in a bad way. But there was entertainment here. There were a few things there that made you want to laugh. But overall, it was a tragedy.
Yeah.
So, at times, felt a little bad laughing at.
Oh, yeah, but
during the although,
hey, sometimes you have to laugh to cope.
The little cut scenes between the segments, absolutely love them.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And needed, because you have to laugh to keep him crying. It's just such a tremendous series of bad decisions and people with no character or expertise. It's good
and
to
just
have
trying
experts.
to
That's why they're
cover up
experts.
for his own mistakes.
Yeah, trying to cover
as
his
if
own
it was
ass.
going to go away. Oh, we've lost power. Just
what's
relax,
the first thing you do? Well,
everything's
let's
fine.
lie.
Although, but again, kudos to the actual people on the ship who already were starting to try to come up with plans to evacuate ship, even when the captain's telling them, "No, oh, it's just a minor problem." Maybe because feeling the bump had to have been jarring, and then the fact that the ship was leaning to one side, they at least weren't buying this. Oh, we just have a little minor electrical issue.
I don't know, man. The cruise industry is opening up again. You want to jump on a boat? Do you feel like, I don't know,
not
staying
after
in
that.
a room for another? We've had a year and a half of staying in house. I don't know if you want to go on a boat and stay in a cabin. You know, I'm just saying.
Which is a shame, because part of me would like to go on a cruise sometime just to see how it is, because you can get on those cruises where now you end up going to multiple countries, so you get to see a lot of different things, as opposed to a regular vacation where you're probably just going to one place.
You know, it's interesting. We've had this debate in our household, in our family, the idea of vacations. My wife and I, we like to go and do stuff. Like if there's the biggest ball of twine, or hey, look, here's a UFO landing site, welcome center. Let's go there, check it out. Oh, it's only 15 minutes away. Gone. We're there.
Yeah.
The kids, however, they're like, hey, can we knock that off? We'd like to we'd like to just go someplace and relax. Vacation.
It's one of those things that,
and that's foreign.
There's something to be said for both.
Wait, what was that? I'm sorry.
There's something to be said for both approaches.
There is.
There are times when you want a vacation just to get away from the hectic real world. Go somewhere and relax.
Yeah.
Like we went to, and this was many years ago now, we went to Jamaica one time.
Oh, I'd love to go.
That was nice, just going and just hanging out on the beach, going into the water, which was also amazing because it was like going into a bathtub. It's not like here when you go into the ocean and you have that little shock to your system. You just walk right in. It's like, oh, this is nice.
Did you do any snorkeling while you were there?
Did not do that.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Maybe next time. I'd love to go. Dave, I dream Jamaican in the moonlight. Sandy beaches, drinking rum every night.
It was nice. And it was like an all-inclusive that we went to, so the dinners were buffets and everything.
Oh, God.
Go up and get your drinks, and that was nice.
What more do you want? Actually, there's a lot more in Jamaica. I've been looking into it recently. I mean, there's some scenes or places where they shot some of the James Bond movies that I'd like to go to.
Now, the only thing...
Not that I'm a fan.
Now, I don't know how it is now. I just know when I was there...
Right.
You were warned to not go off property on your own.
You see, now that kind of...
doing so at your own risk.
Yeah, I hear you, but that means to me, and this is going to sound nuts, or maybe it won't sound nuts coming from me. It seems like class warfare, and I don't want to support that either. Well, but at the same time, I'd love to go to Goldeneye and see where Ian Fleming
the only
wrote his
thing,
novels.
though, is it's for your safety. So
Well,
I don't
yeah,
really
I
see it
got
as
you.
class warfare there, because there was a couple that actually did try to go off site, and they ended up getting mugged, and the guy got beat up and stuff. So,
Look, I hear you. I understand. The situation stinks. I don't know. You see, there's a place in Jamaica I'd love to go see. It's an old prison. It's the last known place where Mary Read and Anne Bonny were. I was writing a story about their lives one time, and I came across this prison in Jamaica, and Mary Read and Anne Bonny said, well, they claimed their bellies because they were going to hang for piracy, and female pirates, by the way, and they claimed their bellies, quote unquote, saying that they were pregnant, and they may have been. History shows that Mary Read died in prison, some sort of consumption or something like that. But Anne Bonny disappears, and nobody really knows what happened to her. I would love to see that prison. I don't. I know it's on island, obviously. I don't know where, but just that type of history calls to me. I just love that stuff, and I don't know. Maybe
it would
one
be
day.
interesting.
Yeah. Plus the forts and the coves and the snorkeling. Oh my gosh. But then again, there's such poverty on the other side of that wall. And it's the same thing in Haiti or the Dominican Republic or Mexico and Cancun, to varying degrees, you know. And don't get me wrong, I'm not throwing stones at anybody doing, going. I'm really not, because these inclusive vacations, they sound wonderful, but I don't know. I'm at an age now. I don't know. I was supposed to get more conservative as I got older, but the opposite has happened. I don't know. Oh well. Anyway, I digress. I'd love to go to Jamaica. Let me just delay everything I said.
It's nice. Again, this was probably 25 years ago when I went.
Wow.
So it's been a while. So I don't know what it's like now. The only thing I didn't like is we flew in and then we had to take a bus to where we were staying. It was like an hour drive.
Wow,
and this wasn't
really?
like a good charter bus or anything. This was, picture what you may as far as the bus goes. It was hot, and you were just sweaty sitting on the bus, and it just didn't ride well or anything. So you just wanted to get back to the you wanted to get to the resort.
So it's part of the adventure. I mean, think of the people on the coast of Concordia. Think of the great stories they have now.
Wow.
Oh God. Yes, we had to crawl down the bow of this ship on a ladder.
The only story we had is my wife got extreme sunburn.
Ouch.
And actually got a little bit of sun sickness from it.
Oh, that's not
because she had like a shirt on over top of her bathing suit.
Right.
And put on the sunscreen around the shirt. But then while we were out on the beach, she took that off for a bit. And you're down much closer to the equator. It does not take much.
Yeah,
I know I was putting like road tar on when I was down there.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. You're down there in the roaring 40s. That'd be so cool, though. Wow. Nice. I'm sorry about the sun poisoning, though. That's no fun.
Yeah, that got to be a little... She ended up in the room for a day or so, just not feeling well. So I remember like going down to the buffet to get dinner and just trying to get some plates to bring back to her and stuff.
Gotcha. Sure. You can get a tray with those little pineapples with the umbrellas. That's what I would say. Here, take this.
I was having enough of those. Which is the nice thing about the all-inclusive. Anyway, actually, we've really gotten a little bit off topic
way
here.
Off topic, just like the cost of Concordia.
Yes. I like how you segued that.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I like how you segued us back in there. That worked. So thank you guys out there. Let us know your thoughts. What are your thoughts on Internet Historian? I definitely like Internet Historian, and think he is very good.
Definitely. Netflix, if you're out there, you might want to look at Mr. Internet Historian and his team. I'm just saying.
And thank you guys all. Thank you for making it this far. If you made it through our last stories here, we apologize. A like, comment, and subscribe. And click on that little bell down there if you want to know when we have new videos out. It's always appreciated, but it's never what?
It's never persuaded.
Persuaded? Close. It's never pressured either.
Pressured? I know it was a
Or
P word.
Persuaded. We're not trying to persuade you.
We don't want to pressure you either.
Exactly. It's always appreciated, though.
True. It's very kind.
Yes. So thank you guys again, and remember, be good to each other.
Please do that.
Because we all live in this world together.
Indeed. Stay healthy. Don't be like the captain of the coast of Concordia. be good to each other. And,
Yes. Don't be spreading fake news and trying to pass it off as real. Don't be lying to people and telling them that you're not.
Don't be full of pride and hubris so that you can't tell the truth.
Exactly. And also, keep your eyes to the sky because you never know what you may see.
And your ear to the ground because, well, there's lots of stuff to listen for.
This is true. Thank you again, everybody. Take care.
Peace. Thanks for watching.